Hello fellow gunters. Ground Splitter is going to get finally buffed in Title Update 3 and with a good reason. Ground Splitter in a lot of situations was not really worth using. I'm not talking just about the high rank situation where compared with Monster Hunter World, they took away 20% passive shell damage to move it to Ground Splitter. That is not true when talking about Master rank difficulty because in Iceborne, the bonus was reversed, so in Sunbreak it is truly a buff. But really it is? It is not because there are lots of examples like this clip where not using Ground Splitter makes you do as much damage as using it. There is a clear mathematical explanation for this. I already used this reasoning in the past with the Clutch Claw of Iceborne to determine that wounding a monster was not worth at all. The thing is simple, the damage gain should easily surpass the time it took to execute the buff. Ground Splitter before Title Update 3 lasts for 30 seconds. And performing Ground Splitter until it finishes it is 3 seconds, 4 seconds until the erupting cannon where the buff already applies. So, basically this means you need between 10% and a 13% of the buff duration to perform the buffing. And because of that, if you don't use Ground Splitter you get that extra 3 to 4 seconds to dish more damage. So you need at the very least a 10% extra damage to make up for that lost damage. Ground Splitter is a 20% bonus but that only applies to your shelling attacks. Here I'm using a reverse blast dash sequence loop that is the highest possible DPS for a wide gunlance. A note is that I'm using the Worthy Toadverse mod to set all the toad to a 60% hit zone. A loop is the blast dash shield bash, the slam, the full bust, sweep, erupting cannon and reload. Of these attacks, only the full burst and erupting cannon get buffed. So, a buffed loop is 154, 283, 216, 350, 144 and 260 damage for a total of 1400 damage. The unbuffed loop is 154, 283, 182, 350, 144 and 217 for a total of 1330 damage. So the damage increase of the loop is just 5%. The difference in the clip is a tie because of the sweep attack of Ground Splitter, but you get the idea. You are only getting 70 extra damage of the whole loop sequence here. If we reduce the melee hit zones to a 45%, that is reducing every melee attack by a 75%, we would get 1174 and 1244 damage and the ratio would be still a 6% extra damage. For a normal gunlance, the loop has no erupting cannon and the loop is reduced to bash, slam, full burst, sweep and quick reload. The unbuffed full burst do 408 damage and the buffed one 492. So, using the same melee data we are getting 1195 and 1279 and that is a 7% difference. So, in general, when using both melee and shell attacks at once, Ground Splitter is almost a trap that is not able to break even. And on top of that there was the fact that it forced you to play with one less wire bug. So this loop is just not possible if you don't have 3 bugs ready. And also, of course, if you don't have a 100% DPS uptime, your benefit from Ground Splitter would be also lower. It was only worth it if playing wide pure shelling since the buff ratio was over 15%. Thank goodness, Capcom have taken notice of this and are going to fix it as soon as tonight. If duration is increased to 45 seconds, then the ratio to break even becomes a 6.5% that is easier to meet just barely but would be no longer a hassle for no reward. We will see in a few hours. Thanks for watching. And see you in the hunt.